Oh, I take it from the thumbnail that the album is called Ray Gun Suitcase. So
Yes.
naturally, this song would be called Folly of Youth. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. Oh, yeah. My name's John. His name's Andy. When are you going to come down? When are you going to plant? I should have stayed on the farm. I should have listened to my own man. More on that later. But first, we have a track to listen to. Andy, what do you got for us today?
Well, I we had some bad news come through a few days ago here, where we had to say goodbye to David Thomas, the revered frontman of Pere Ubu. We've done a couple of episodes dedicated to his music, their music, the band, although it really is the brainchild of his. And we've also had the pleasure of having what we believe to be him weigh in on one of our episodes. And I'll just say that his comment humored us. So I thought, man, we really have to pay homage to this guy another time and do another track by him, because he is such an interesting character here in American rock and roll, and really it transcends across the pond too, because he's had some influence on some artists from over in that neck of the woods. So what better way for us to do that than to check out another Pere Ubu track here on the channel. So I'm going to offer you up a song by them. This is we've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've done two off the modern dance. And I thought I've been kind of kicking the can on this because I wanted to bring in some of their later stuff too, to kind of show you what they were doing as the decades progressed. So this is going to be a later track by them. The track is called Folly of Youth.
Oh, the folly of youth, eh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So please go off, give this eccentric little tune a listen, and come back and let me know what you think, man.
Okie dokie. Already quite a lot to unpack. um, yeah, so it starts off with this bass line. It's really simple. It's just like pacing like a junkyard dog. And then we get these effects over the top from whatever synthesizer or whatever it is. Um, yeah, it's strange, like something is assembling something. Um, and then in comes your man, with a twangy guitar, sort of distant cousin of Peter Gunn. um, and Mr. Thomas starts warbling. I want to be your suitcase. I want to be your suitcase. And then I think after that, we get I want to hang around inside your Greyhound terminal. And the guitar sort of follows the vocal melody. and he's changing his tone of his voice there from the start. Yeah, I don't pretend to have a clue what's going on, but I'll tell you what it's doing to me. It's kind of making me feel like I'm in a deleted scene from Repo Man or something. Yeah, it's kind of like that punk attitude, absurdist, tension, um, some extraterrestrial shit going on, definitely. I think I think I'm getting hints of UFOs. um, all set in the sort of rainy, downtrodden part of LA. Um, yeah, really interesting. That's visually what I'm going on in my head, anyway. And I kind of like this MacGuffin, the suitcase, um, as opposed to the boot of the Chevy in the film. Um, yeah, pretty interesting. And that bit just there where I stopped it sort of came out with this lovely bended note for the guitar, so it reminded me of Pylon Danger. Just go back a wee bit. Nice. Just to say his vocals there, I mean, if I hadn't heard them before, I would say that conveys some sort of emotional distress almost. Not quite turmoil, but sort of getting that way. Um, Together with the other stuff he's done as well, it's really interesting, his vocals. And they're not standard by any means.
I wanna be your Reagan. I wanna be
Sorry, it seems like we have takeoff from the UFO. Yeah, some really nice bits with that guitar sort of coming to a mini crescendo, and then a nice drum fill, and then that sort of insistent bass sort of keeping us going while there's little mini explosions and stuff going on all around. Um, yeah, really interesting stuff. I need more than one listen to this, but yeah. Let's just keep this going.
I need to be the suitcase. I need to be a suitcase.
Yeah, I'm gonna Scooby Doo what's going on there. It's interesting imagery. Greyhound Terminal, and I think there's all mystery train and starless lonely nights. I think I've written down here. Yeah, these are my metaphors. I don't know what he's conveying. Um, but tonally, really interesting soundscape to this. Um, really, really rich. All sort of effects and stuff going on. There's sort of popping off left, right, and centre, but the keeping along the rails of the bass and the rhythm section, just keeping us going. Really nice and interesting. His vocals, something else. I mean, it got points in that I was thinking that it sounded a little bit sort of a touch of despair in there and a touch of like almost patheticness to it, when someone's not quite bleeding almost. I don't know. The quavering of his voice was just like, and whether he meant it or not, it's just really interesting. Really interesting stuff. So interested to see if Andy has got some explanation to this. There probably isn't. But let's go back and chat because I can't wait to speak about this. 'Cause I really enjoyed this. Always interesting Pere Ubu. So let's go back and chop it up with Andy.
All right, so you're back. Tell me, what did you make of Folly of Youth by Pere Ubu?
Oh, I take it from the thumbnail that the album is called Ray Gun Suitcase.
Yes.
So naturally, this song would be called Folly of Youth.
Yes.
That just made me laugh.
It's even funny, John. You're right. Of course, it made you laugh. It's funny, and it's classic. David Thomas having taking the piss. But on more than one article dedicated to this album, they're like, and title track, and then they like it, you just fall into it because the lyrics,
Yeah,
suggest that of course it's the title track, but it isn't.
yeah.
Mm.
No, of course. But yeah, that's the humor there, straight away.
Yeah.
So it starts with this very simple bass line, but it is incessant and it's pacing like a junkyard dog on a short chain. Um, in come the sound effects. Um, I was tossing up between what I thought it was. I wasn't sure if it was like a UFO trying to land or if it was somebody assembling a prototype sort of laser gun, and then test firing it around the junkyard. Among the existential, or is that extraterrestrial swishing, in comes the guitar, twanging like a distant cousin of Peter Gunn. It's I looked up at Peter Gunn actually, because we mentioned him on something else recently. I didn't realise that Peter Gunn was a TV series, hence the theme tune, created by Blake Edwards, him of Pink Panther fame.
Mm,
There you
I
go.
don't
There's
either.
some more useful information you didn't want. Anyway, your man Mr. Thomas starts to warble. I want to be your suitcase. I want to be your suitcase. Which at this point, nothing surprises me when it comes out of his mouth. And I trust in Uncle David that things will be revealed at a later date, as to what the hell's going on. But yeah, his tone shifts, and the guitar follows. And it's almost like the guitar is like that bouncing red dot on lyric videos, following it as he sings, "I want to hang around inside your Greyhound terminal." I don't know if that's a euphemism. If it is, it's not very flattering.
No, no, it isn't.
And it's repeated a few times. Oh, it's certainly, puts images in your head. And yeah, and his voice is so interesting, his voice, because
Yeah.
it's not your standard singer. But he changes his tone, and especially if you were hearing this for the first time and not heard any Pere Ubu before, um, there would be not quite some hysteria, but you'd get a feeling certainly of some sort of manic element of distress, perhaps, to his words. Things are not going well for this person at the Greyhound terminal. Um, As we finish this, the guitar bends a lovely note as we dismount into the next section, and very reminiscent of Pylon on Danger that we listened to last year or the year before. And then the synth takes on that bending of the note and sort of surfs it along for a few more beats, which is really nice. Um, it's at this point that I feel that we've landed inside a deleted scene from the movie Repo Man. I don't know if you're familiar with that
Yeah.
cult classic, Alex Cox. It has the elements. There's this punk attitude, or it's a hardcore, but punk attitude. When faced with this sort of absurdist pretension, the sort of straightforward, the straight face playing of Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton in front of all of this nonsense. And it's kind of the same thing. And there's a MacGuffin as well. In this song, it's the suitcase. In the film, it's the trunk of the Chevy. And above all, although it's played straight, there is a huge amount of sense of humor to it as well, along with the weirdness, and that's exactly what this song is. So I feel I'm in that junkyard, and anyway, he sings there a couple of times. I want to be your ray gun, and we're complete with comedic toy gun effects that start off as this sort of childish nonsense, and they seem to morph into something else as the guitar builds to a brief crescendo. Um, and it's taken on again by the synth that now sounds like a UFO that's fishtailing its way around the dirt tracks of the junk. But perhaps it needs something in that suitcase to take off.
Mm.
And then he sort of comes back. I aim to be your ray pistol. Um, and then we get to the next sort of repeated phrasing. I want to light the way across your starless, lonely nights. Um, Cymbal splashes punctuate these repeated lines, and it's a really interesting line because I want to light your way, and the starless, lonely nights. It's quite evocative.
Mm.
Again, the guitar goes with the vocal melody. Before there's an almighty whoosh, I think the UFO we may just have had takeoff is going away. there's a sadness, melancholy to this,
Hmm.
but also kind of pathetic quality to the voice as well. Like, like someone almost begging, but not begging, but do you know what I mean? It's like there's a pathetic nature to it as well. And I'm just reading that into the tone of his voice. There's nothing that says that, but it's all there. It's very rich. Um, the relentless beat from the cymbal, the hi-hat, whatever it is, keeps us going forward, which the bass had been doing before. For this bit, all around there are noises rattling, reverbing, crashing. It's almost like the shooting star show going on in the sky above. I aim to be the suitcase, and Peter Gunn then returns briefly. Um, and then he repeats again, I want to hang around inside your Greyhound terminal. Um, and then the last little bit is, I want to ride the baggage car of your old mystery train, which put me in mind of Jim Jarmusch. To be honest with you, I'm pretty lost at this point in terms of these metaphors. Um, but it does feel emotional with a touch of desperation. The guitar then tumbles and writhes against the persistent cymbal hits before emerging with these sort of strident hits and almost triumphant and defiant chords as it then comes to a conclusion, which is quite weird as well, considering what's gone on. It's not the sort of ending that I pictured. Um, yeah, this is wonderful, strange, totally fitting in with what I know of Pere Ubu so far.
Mm.
Yeah, fantastic, and I loved it.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you did. I got a moment of transparency. Like when I was deciding which Pere Ubu track to first bring to the channel and offer up to you, I was kind of going through my Pere Ubu file on my computer, and my fiance came down, and this track was playing. And she's like making her like packing her lunch for work, and she looks over at me and she goes, "You like this?" I go, "I love this song. I fucking love this song." And I totally understand where she's coming from. I do. But you have to, if you're cut from a certain cloth, a song like this and a character like that is going to really speak to you. And I know it's that sound. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. In this context, for whatever reason, it resonates with me. I love this song. And if it wasn't for how wildly important their first album was, I would have picked this first. But I decided, with Humor Me, Street Waves, that whole album, I needed to bring that to you first. And I'm glad I did, because who knows, maybe he wouldn't have commented on the video if we had done this. Who knows how
Yeah,
he
yeah.
felt about this track. But yeah, lots of fun. This one, really interesting song. So let me get into it a little bit here. Uh, Seeing that we've covered the band in two previous episodes, as we've mentioned here, I won't get too hemmed in with like biographical information, save to remind folks that this Cleveland-based band formed in 1975 and was, as I mentioned before, the brainchild of sadly recently departed innovative music pioneer David Thomas. The band has seen plenty of turnover throughout all these years, as you can imagine. But the lineup for this 1995 album, Ray Gun Suitcase, consisted of David Thomas, vocals, melodeon, musette, autocans, and actual ray gun. Jim Jones on guitar, keyboard, bass, backing vocals, keyboards, spike, and sleigh bells. Robert Wheeler, EML synthesizers, uh, Ensoniq, EPS, and theremin. And Michelle Temple, bass guitar, slide bass, guitar, and lute. Oh, and also, of course, Scott Benedict on drums. Jesus, just drums, Scott. Come on, pick up your end of the couch. In 2005, to celebrate Pere Ubu's 30th anniversary, a director's cut was released with new mastering, alternative mixes, and two bonus tracks. David Thomas explained at the time, "The point of doing a director's cut is to benefit from that older and wiser thing. I reviewed all alternate mixes from the session, sometimes discovering that an earlier mix turned out to be superior to the chosen mix. As well, 10 years later, we have access to improved mastering technology. Consequently, there is a greater clarity and cohesion to the director's cut. We are not going to make both versions available. The director's cut is the way it's supposed to be, period." Sid Fablo of Rock Salted wrote of the album, "What is most new here are the song structures, many of which play like mini suites with numerous shifts in tone. Also, there is an emphasis on theatrics in the formal sense. Singer David Thomas adopts affected singing techniques that seem drawn from avant-garde theater. So guitarist Jim Jones plays some driving anthemic riffs, but those come and go in any given song. The bass is prominent, and the overall sound is crisp but full, with a lot of separation that lends an almost hollow effect. There are definite rhythms and melodies and chord progressions, but also atonal interjections and other elements at odds with convention. Overall, the subject matter of the song seem to look back a bit, with an interest in Americana. But for the purpose of understanding what cultural history means to the future, this is not nostalgic navel gazing by any means. This would establish a foundation for much of what the band pursued for the next decade." Ted Drozdowski reviewed the album for Rolling Stone magazine back in 1995 when Ray Gun Suitcase dropped and wrote, "Pere Ubu have been neglected pop geniuses for 20 years, and with the release of their brilliant new Ray Gun Suitcase, they're poised to remain that way. It's their own damn fault. Whenever the band comes up with a set of transfixing chord changes, it includes lyrics like, 'I want to be a suitcase. I want to hang around in your Greyhound terminal. I want to ride in your baggage car,' as in their latest LP's opening track." He would go on to add, "If underground rock and roll had a Hall of Fame, that gave awards for influence and creativity, Pere Ubu would be more decorated than Magic Johnson. Artie Punks from Mission of Burma to Bob Mould have wailed the Cleveland group's praises. And band's sole constant keening warbler David Thomas is a legit visionary. On Ubu's 10th album, he reveals a surprising reverence for Beach Boys melodies and sharp hooks along with the usual fare, dagger-tipped cynicism, dark humor, and a surreal musical palette. Thomas's taste buds run broad. Guitars and keyboards bleep and snort their way through the soundscape, and his lyrics are so smart they stand as a cultural critique even as they shed non sequiturs like a mangy sheepdog sheds fur. So, let's jump into these lyrics. There aren't many, and you caught on to most. I'm pretty proud of you here, John. I want to be
You
your
repeated them enough times.
Yeah, this is true. Uh, I want to be your suitcase. I want to hang around inside your Greyhound terminal. I want to be your ray gun. I aim to be your ray pistol. I want to light the way across your starless, lonely nights. That is fucking for all the like lyrical chicanery. Right smack dab in the middle is this profound, passionate kind of poetic line, and I love it so much. So much so that I'm going to say it again. I want to light the way across your starless, lonely nights. I aim to be a suitcase. I want to hang around inside your Greyhound terminal. I want to ride the baggage car of your old mystery train. Of your old mystery train. In recent days, periodicals have been releasing articles eulogizing David Thomas and paying homage to the art he created himself with Pere Ubu, while also recognizing the art it would in turn influence. If you will indulge me, one more time, I would like to read a couple excerpts from a recent Washington Post article on the man written by journalist Harrison Smith. Their records influenced bands including Sonic Youth, Gang of Four, REM, and the Pixies. Now that's a who's who, especially when you talk about the bands we cover on this channel. Um, Even as Pere Ubu never enjoyed mainstream success. Mr. Thomas insisted that when he co-founded Pere Ubu in Cleveland in 1975, he had no expectations of fame or glory. His ambition for the band, and this is a quote, was to be discovered in a used record bin in 30 years. The cause of his death was complications from kidney disease, said his wife and band manager Kirsty Boone. Pere Ubu announced his death in a statement, saying that Mr. Thomas, an American who is based for years in Britain, will ultimately be returned to his home, the farm in Pennsylvania, where he insisted he was to be thrown in the barn. So there you go. R.I.P. to a legend and a real one, and a defiantly original music maker. Like what a fucking interesting guy this man was. And I know that our channel is filled with plenty of them, and to me or to you, he's no higher or lower. It's just one of many really interesting guys that created really interesting art for fucking decades. So, this probably won't matter to anybody strongly affiliated with the band or anything, but I just wanted to do my own to pay a little respect to the guy because I've, as weird as it is, man, this music has always been super cool to me and interesting and unlike a lot or anything that I've ever heard before. So thanks for giving this thing a go, man. I was kind of worried this might not resonate with you a lot like the stuff on, the modern dance would, but yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, and to pick up on your point, I mean, yeah, we've talked about interesting characters that are visionaries and have, their influence on modern music to greater or lesser extents. I mean, so, there's loads that sort of spring to mind. Yeah, there's a certain chat from the Fall, perhaps. But the feeling that I get is that these characters or of a time and a place, particularly a time of change,
Mm,
and influence. And I don't really see that now. I mean, I could easily be missing it. So I think when one of them passes, um, we're all the poorer for it. Um,
yeah.
the like probably won't come around again because the scenarios aren't there for someone like that to sort of evolve up. Um, it's more probably producers now are more influential um, than the creators themselves. Um, so yeah, it's a real. It's sad that it's passed on. I didn't realize that he'd made his home in the UK. But it gives us a chance to appreciate what he has done. I mean, just on the two episodes, I mean, you know, I've got these bad boys ready to go through,
Yeah.
and looks like there's going to be some more to come as well. So yeah, this is a real gem that I hadn't discovered.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm thankful for that.
Awesome. Sounds like there might be a ray gun in your suitcase here in the future. Another thing that also deserves a little bit of attention, and it didn't even spring to mind until you had mentioned um, that these kind of characters aren't being made anymore, right? Is that they come from oftentimes, not this, you can't say this with 100% certainty, but they often come from interesting places that are going through interesting times at the time that they themselves came up. And Cleveland is no different. I'm sure that there are, in ways, not tenfold across the board, but like in ways there are places in Britain that were a lot like that were going through things that like places like Cleveland were going through in the mid to late 70s. Um, the death of industry and what that meant, and how you adapt. I mean, we've talked so many times about what Thatcher did to those areas like that, mostly in the north of England, um, during this era, or very close to this era, and the defiant voices that rose in the wake of that, or in response to that. And Cleveland is right, kind of in smack dab in the heart of the Rust Belt, which is, we've talked about that name before, and I think you could probably apply that kind of name to some of the places over there, whether they were doing steel work or mining or what have you. And these are the interesting poets and pioneers that came out of these, black lung and, smog filled air defiantly to say this is bullshit, and this is and we are going to defy you in the form of music. And they would go on to influence and almost start a small fire in their own way to light under culture and society, to get people talking and thinking. And yeah, David Thomas was just another example of that for us over here. So give the man his roses on this silly little YouTube video that'll probably get 120 views tops. And that's that, done and dusted. We did our part. But yeah, big thanks to Pere Ubu, David Thomas, and all other artists that think and write in a similar vein. So yeah, man, thanks so much, John, for giving this a go. Guys out there
My pleasure.
in the listening audience, please let us know what you think of Pere Ubu, this track Folly of Youth, and just about David Thomas himself. I know you guys have probably dropped some stuff on previous videos, but if there's ever a time to come back and check out some of his stuff, please let us know what you think down in the comments field below. Also, like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so inclined. David Thomas would want you to. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.